to sort through here, and joining us now, James Boyes, a professor of international political studies at Richmond, the American University in London. James, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you. So let's start here. President Trump determined, obviously, from these stories that we've just been reporting, to stem the tide of migrants any way he can, even if it's against the law. This, of course, idea with sanctuary cities. What's your reaction to these latest attempts on hardcore immigration tactics by this administration?
Good morning, Natalie. Well, there's no doubt about it that what we're seeing here with this latest round of announcements is very much Donald Trump trying to follow through upon those policies which he believes got him elected. But what I think you're seeing is increasing frustration by this president, and also it reveals, I think, his lack of overall political experience. He's not surrounded by people who are aiding him very well, quite frankly, in guiding him through how to appreciate not only the law, but also the bureaucracy in the United States. He has, of course, a great problem recruiting people to work for his administration and keeping their jobs within the administration. And the people who are suffering most of all, of course, are those people on the border who, of course, are now very much at the whim of this White House, and nobody knows what is going to come out next. The president says one thing, then his backroom staff say, oh, don't worry about it, you're taking him literally or seriously and not literally. And this, of course, has been a problem trying to understand what Donald Trump's policies have been about all along.
Right, it's back and forth, and then sometimes it's like, oh, I was joking. So it does make it all the more complicated for so many people that have so much at stake here with this story. It's such a serious story. You mentioned the people working for him and behind this. One person in particular is Stephen Miller, the president's 33-year-old senior policy advisor. He's apparently the one pushing the president toward a more hardline approach, and that includes a shakeup at the Department of Homeland Security. Right now, the four people at the top are all acting officers. Would you expect even more surprises, perhaps on immigration ideas, as this agency is retooled by the White House, and seeing Stephen Miller here and knowing that the president has his ear?
Well, I think anybody who doesn't expect the unexpected moving forward from Donald Trump hasn't been paying attention for the past 2.5 years, quite frankly. Let's not forget also that it isn't just the Department of Homeland Security which is being staffed by temporary individuals. You know, the White House itself has a temporary chief of staff, the Department of Defense, the same. So we have a very bizarrely staffed administration at this point. Stephen Miller, I think, is someone who has managed to take very astute advantage of his very particular role within this administration. He is, as you rightly pointed out there, an advisor to the president. That means that he serves purely at the pleasure of the president. He does not need to be approved by the Senate to be confirmed for that position. He is in many ways a buffer. He sits between the president and those heads of department. As you rightly point out, Kirstjen Nielsen was the last department head to get the brunt of this. He can play a sort of devil on the shoulder of the president, telling him what he wants to hear, goading him, acting in very similar way that Steve Bannon, his former mentor, used to do, but also, I think, learning from Bannon by trying to walk a very fine line and not hog the limelight. He's letting Trump be Trump, and arguably bringing out the very worst of his instincts, I think.
Yeah, beyond the intricacies of this White House, do you think what we see with this immigration debate in the U.S. is reflective on a larger scale of the migration issues that have also affected much debate in Europe?
There's no doubt about it. The question about how to address migration flows across the world have become a great debate for leaders to wrangle with. And we've seen, for example, here in Europe, leaders such as Angela Merkel be heavily criticized for, in many people's views, allowing too many people into the country. And indeed, I think many people were surprised how close the last elections were in Germany. Barack Obama, when he was still president, got a lot of criticism for seemingly not allowing enough people in. It seems that I think Donald Trump is learning a lesson here with regards to the domestic constituencies within the United States, who, of course, will be responsible for electing him or not electing him for a second term of office come next year. I think Donald Trump is perhaps rightly, from a political point of view, remembering that only Americans vote in the presidential election. But of course, there are broader, wider questions about responsibility and morality in politics, which perhaps Donald Trump is paying less attention to.
We really appreciate your perspectives. James Boyes joining us from London. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.